I wish to begin by turning to the leader of our District of Columbia, the Honorable Mayor Vincent C. Gray. Throughout this pavilion are representatives from embassies of African nations. I know in particular from the Embassy of Senegal, from the Embassy of Niger, the Embassy of Morocco, the Embassy of South Africa. It is now a joy where I grew up and where he grew up, which was the southern part of the United States. We would say it's a pure de-joy for me to invite to give a few words on this, our 50th anniversary, the Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, Dr. G. Wayne Clough.
Thank you so much, Johnnetta. What a wonderful day. The mayor and I were going to come in as stilt walkers, but they looked at us and said, 40 pounds ago, maybe, but no. Well, it's a wonderful day. Obviously, we're celebrating a very important anniversary for this museum, 50th anniversary. But it's also a very important anniversary as well. This is the 5th year of the unretirement of Johnnetta Betsch Cole. We want her to stay unretired for many more years. As Johnnetta says about this museum so accurately, we help people rethink about how they think about Africa. And today's event gives us a chance to think about the history of this very special museum, which is about many things, foremost of which is perseverance, dedication, and love. When Warren Robins began this museum 50 years ago on this day in the former H Street home of Frederick Douglass, it was a labor of love. It had begun on a trip to Hamburg, Germany, unusual, when Robins was a cultural attaché for the U.S. Embassy. Even though he had never been involved in the arts and never been to Africa, he bought a piece of African art that he saw. From that original piece and the subsequent 32 pieces he bought a year later, a lifelong mission was born to foster cross-cultural understanding by bringing knowledge of African art to the American people. He also understood that the museum should be an educational institution, something we're very important to us here at the Smithsonian. So he bought a school bus that could bring kids to the art and a van to bring art to the kids. The museum became a part of the Smithsonian family in 1979, and it couldn't have been a more perfect match. Warren Robins shared the Smithsonian's vision of culture, art, and history, being used to educate and bring people together. Today, Johnnetta and her staff are carrying this forward as a labor of love. Let's give them all a big hand. I recently had the pleasure of visiting and touring the new exhibition here, Vision of Forest, the Art of Liberia and Sierra Leone. And with Johnnetta, and I encourage all of you to go downstairs and take a look. The distinctive motifs and subjects speak to the many stories that art can tell. The ceremonial initiation mask of the Sandy Society that were worn only by women. The prestigious horns that are engraved with Arabic and a rare indigenous Liberian script. And I was struck, and this is a testament to the staff here in this museum, by the beautiful presentation of these artworks which glisten like diamonds in their new display cases on entering the exhibition. It is truly a remarkable experience that everyone should enjoy. It brings to mind a quote from our friend Maya Angelou, who meant so much to this museum, the Smithsonian, and Johnnetta. She said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." When you take a stroll through this exhibition or this museum, you feel the soul of a continent and its people. That is what art can do. In 2011, Johnnetta and I joined Undersecretary of History, Art, and Culture, Richard Curran, on a trip to Port-au-Prince. We wanted to gauge the project of an effort we had undertaken after the earthquake, the Haiti Cultural Recovery Project. This collaborative project had worked to rescue, recover, and safeguard the Haitian cultural artworks that were damaged in the massive earthquake. It was Jonnetta's first visit in 20 years to a place she spent so many years working. We saw firsthand on that trip the power of art to heal in the music of the children's choir and orchestra that rose above the rubble, that told a story of hope amid devastation, in the many Haitians who worked with us to help restore and preserve their culture and art, and in the indomitable spirit of the Haitian people. And in turn, the Museum of African Art helped raise the awareness and the continuing need for help by mounting an exhibition of paintings by Haitian children in the aftermath of the quake. This is the kind of cross-cultural impact that Warren Robbins had in mind when he began this museum in its very humble beginnings. It is what we continue to build on, and I know that even greater things lie ahead for the next 50 years of the National Museum of African Art.
I am declaring what you have just heard the best speech the Brother Secretary has ever given. And now, what a privilege it is to bring to this podium Mayor Vincent C. Gray. When we asked if he would find some time in yet another day of impossible commitments, he did not hesitate. From the day that I arrived 5 years ago, he has been a very special supporter of his home, the National Museum of African Art in our city.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cole, and let me say good afternoon to everybody. It is wonderful to see so many people gathered here today for this celebration. Dr. Clough, I'm delighted to be with you again. You've been a great friend to the District of Columbia, and I know I am, on behalf of all of our citizens, deeply appreciative for the relationship that you've helped to craft during your time and building on what had been built on prior to that. And of course, I want to add my congratulations to the 5th anniversary of the unretirement of Dr. Johnnetta Cole. Isn't she a treasure? She and her husband are dear friends of mine, and what an enormous contribution they have made to the District of Columbia. And I'm delighted to be here today just to make a couple of comments and to be able to present a proclamation on behalf of all of our folks in the District of Columbia. What an auspicious occasion it is to be able to celebrate the 50th anniversary of this museum. As you heard from Dr. Clough, it was founded by Warren Roberts, and you know, as you were speaking, it occurred to me that I bet you very few of our children in our public schools and our public education system know much about Warren Roberts, and we need to do something about that. For someone to have had the vision that he had to be able to found this Museum of Art, initially in a townhouse owned by the great Frederick Douglass, and now to have evolved to what it is today. Our children need to know more about Warren Robbins and the vision that he had that still continues to be a pursuit of ours today, and that is cross-cultural communication using the arts from Africa as a medium to be able to do that. So I'm going to work with our educators and see what we can do to try to expand our capacity to make known what this man's contribution was. You know, again, the museum became part of the Smithsonian institutions, I think, in 1979, and then was officially renamed in 1981, and came to this building, I think, in 1987, and now has been here, of course, for, let me just do the math, it's at 13, 14, 27 years. That's a long time. And we know we'll be here forever. One of the things that we will celebrate later this year, we have a number of almost 50 African nations that will join us here in the District of Columbia for a summit, August 4th through August 6th. And we have to use that opportunity, one, in the District of Columbia, to be able to connect and even better connect and bring the bonds of friendship closer together. There are things that we can do, obviously, in the arts, things we can do in terms of economic development, and things in building opportunities that don't exist now. And I hope that, I know you probably have already thought of this, Dr. Cole and Dr. Clough, but I have no doubt that this will be a focal point for those who will be attending this summit on the 4th through 6th of August. We hope to be able to do something the 2nd or 3rd of August, to be able to participate in that celebration. We think this is everyone's museum, and it's great to see such a good crowd here today, but I want the day to come when not only will this place be packed in here, but the lines will be out the door, down the street, and down Independence Avenue, because people have come here to see what's going on in this museum. And so, Dr. Cole, I'd like to ask you to come back up for a second. And on behalf of the 647,000 people, and by the way, we have a growing population. This is the largest population the District of Columbia has had since 1979. It's our largest group of students, if you will. We'll have 86,000 in public education next year, which is the largest we've had probably since the 70s also. So this is a city on the grow. And as we are on the grow, we need to make sure we connect our young people, because overwhelmingly our public education system still includes African American students who need to understand their roots, they need to understand their history, and one of the ways to do that is to make sure they have a relationship with the National Museum. So I'm not going to read all the whereases, but I am, as mayor of the District of Columbia, proud to be able to proclaim today, June 3rd, 2014, as Smithsonian National Museum of the African Arts Day in the District of Columbia.
Oh, brother man. Thank you. Special introductions. So special that I'm going to ask if the kinfolk, we're all kin, we're all kin by choice. But now I'm talking kin, forgive me, Rob, we anthropologists don't like this, but kin by blood. I'm asking if you will come and stand right here. Just right here so that we can all embrace you, at least symbolically. May I let you know that Warren Robins' kinfolk are here. His nephew, Alan Brody. Alan's wife, Mary Brody. And Warren Robins' niece, Marilyn Brody. We are so happy that Warren is truly present through you. One of the most, I think, amazing human abilities is storytelling. And I was thinking I would tell the story, but the secretary and the mayor told the story. And so it's my wish only to add this, that when Warren Robins, who it is said could really get whatever he wanted, when he determined that he would open that private museum in a home in which the great abolitionist, and I insist, feminist Frederick Douglass had lived, it was no small feat in 1964. We remember 1964. White folk and black folk weren't particularly getting along in 1964. But Warren Robins had the vision that something called African art could actually help people to communicate across their differences. We do our best, not just here in this museum, but across the Smithsonian, to honor that vision. My final remarks, before I do that, I want to have you hold and hug symbolically Lydia Puccinelli Robins, the widow of our founder, Warren Robins. Lydia, please. Finally, I wish to offer a tribute to Dr. Maya Angelou. She loved this museum. And if you come back tomorrow or perhaps later today, you will see running there, as we are now looking at wonderful photographs of Warren Robins and the history of our museum, you will see Dr. Maya telling you how important it is that you support this museum. And one of her best lines is when she says, "You must come with your family to the National Museum of African Art and bring your whole self." We all are aware that Dr. Maya went to glory. But we're also here at the Smithsonian so proud, are we not, Brother Secretary, that her last public appearance was in the National Portrait Gallery, where we unveiled her portrait and put her among America's most revered people, indeed among the world's most revered. Dr. Angelou served as the honorary chair of our museum. And when Secretary Clough asked her if she would not only be the honorary chair of our museum, but an honorary chair of the campaign of the entire Smithsonian, I can hear her saying it. I want to be of use. The answer is yes. The way that I'm going to pay tribute to Dr. Angelou, watch this, is by reading a short passage about her that was written by our founder, Warren Robins. He read this tribute on March 27, 1993, when he introduced Dr. Angelou at the Cosmos Club. Lydia, you probably remember this. At the Cosmos Club here in Washington, D.C., at a symposium on creativity in science, art, and the humanities. Warren wrote a lot, so I have really just chosen a few passages. Maya Angelou, said Warren Robbins, is one of the most extraordinary figures of our time. Magnificent in mind, magnanimous in spirit, warm of heart, and loving with deep understanding of the human condition. She expressed and herself exemplifies the hopes we have for what the human being is and can become. Here is the voice of wisdom, compassion, and high intelligence. Thunder in our midst, tempered with grace. Can you imagine up in glory when Dr. Maya and Warren Robbins greeted each other after all of these years? And so, sisters and brothers all here in your museum, we are now going to lift a toast, are we not? Eddie B., where are you? And how could it be a birthday without cupcakes from Sprinkles? Thank you. We want to remind you that you are in one of the Smithsonian's 19 museums. Of course, we also have 9 research centers and the National Zoo. But one of the things that binds us so together is our appreciation of human discovery and creativity and imagination. So with your cupcake in your left hand, we want you to creatively imagine that in your right hand is some bubbly champagne. And we are now toasting, and I'm asking for Lydia to come forward on the stage. Alan, Mary, Marilyn, just come up so we can all feast ourselves on you. I want simply to acknowledge, in addition to the man without whom we would not exist, Warren Robbins, the director who followed him, the late Sylvia Williams. 2 days ago, I was in Dallas at meetings being toured through the Dallas Art Museum by the next director, Roz Walker, and Sharon Patton has sent her sincere regrets not to be here. So in the name of all of our founders and directors, board members, colleagues of the largest Smithsonian and the museum, our donors, hint, hint, our friends, can we take a bite and say happy birthday to the National Museum of African